There we go. Good morning, everybody. An official welcome to month end of October. I don't want to be the person to say we have 8 Fridays left until Christmas, but it just comes out because I feel like if I'm going to panic, I'd like my fellow sisters to panic with me. But I
No,
want to
we
just,
panic.
yeah, flip, I can't. So I had an incredible weekend. Some of you would have seen on social media. We participated in what was called the Cape Town Oriental Dance Festival. And a lot of you know I've danced all my life, but what I want to say to you that I learned the very hard way this morning is that 33-year-old belly dancing Taryn is not the same as 24-year-old belly dancing Taryn. And so I might be in for a hip replacement soon because ow. But it just reminded me in going back to the things that we love and sharing it with the people that got us. And it doesn't matter whether it is our honey business, whether it was my belly dancing studio, we sometimes forget the impact that we've made on so many people's lives. I mean, yesterday I had people coming to me saying, I watched you about 10 years ago at this restaurant. I don't even know who these people are. I don't even know how they found me in Cape Town. But when we show up and when we do what we love, we really do inspire other people. And so today, before we get into the session, I want to ask everybody to just take a deep breath in through your nose and exhale through your chest. And you're going to do this two more times. One more. And out. And last one, because I did say three and I can still count. In and out. Time is moving fast, but it doesn't mean that we need to be on the rat race. And I think if there's anything I want to touch base on this session, it's month end. We've got to be in our offices. We've got to be checking up. So, of course, we're going to finish on time today. But I want to remind you that you can control the pace at which you're operating. Just because everyone is spinning into year end and everyone's trying to get everything done doesn't mean that we need to feel the pressure. But what it does mean is that we somehow still need to show up with the same amount of energy that we would have at the beginning of the year. Because people rely on our energy. They rely on the way that we handle things. And for a lot of people, and also for the first time in my life, I've reached October where I actually don't have burnout. And that was the risk I took this year in going on my own and not working for the corporates and not traveling across the province, is to get to the end of the year and still see hope and still see joy and still see some excitement for what we have to do. So we've got our biggest part of this month. We've got November, which we know is going to be a huge month. And we have the potential to have a really great December. And so today, when we're talking about planning, I'm going to take you a little bit further than what we would normally go in a planning session. And the reason for that is I strongly believe the plans that you set up, even for October month end, if they are done correctly and if they are done with precision and with some energy, you can carry that momentum into your November and into your December. It's not about starting from scratch every single month. It's about growing on what we've done. And I think we can all appreciate the fact that some of the new things we've tried and even some of the older things we've gone back to have made a change in our business. And so, again, if you're not where you need to be, I don't want that to discourage you. I want you to always stay in the mindset of looking at what has worked and how can you double it. So let's recap where we are. We're moving into week 4. This month was all about fierce and femininity. It was all about understanding your power, your role as a leader, and how to go out there and show that you can be a strong leader that still cares, that still shares empathy, and that still makes a difference. And so for this last week, as we wrap up, we're going to be focused on fierce futures. And that really is what I spoke to you about just now, is building growth and legacy. The plans that we make today are the plans that carry us for the many tomorrows that are to come. And so it really is important that you do everything with intention, because there are things you did many years ago that are still carrying you. You just need to go back and understand how you can redo them or how you can implement them again.
Yes.
So before we get started, I want to recap on what October looked like, because I don't know about you, but the first 3 weeks went so fast. I sometimes have to go into my gallery to see where was I this month? What did I do? Because time really is just marching. And the whole purpose of us putting together a structured campaign and a structured training plan every single month is so that we can build on the skill sets that we are learning. We can build on what we need to do in leaders of this business. So when we spoke in week 1 about fierce foundations, I want to recap and say that we spoke about how important it is to be solid in what we do in our offices, in our processes, in the way that we handle things. We did a beautiful onboarding session about how important it is to create experience and the same experience for anybody in your business. But more importantly, that you understand who you are as a leader and that you show up consistently like that so that your team can start following a rhythm, they can start following a trend, and that you take a lot of their questions out of the way. Success belongs to those who can explain the obvious, and that's what Fierce Foundations was about. We don't need to get fancy, we don't need to get over detailed, we need to just be strong in what we believe in. We've got to know the business like our back of our hands, and we've got to be able to show the people who choose to walk this journey with us that we are in control and we know where we want to go. And then in week 2, we spoke about pink power. Now, this was knowing your numbers. This was getting back on track into who is in your business. We did an awesome session on your fierce and femininity consultants. Who is your customer? How do you create that experience around your customer? And a lot of that information is a lot of information. It's exactly that. And so when you're looking to upskill your team or to pass something on, I'm finding a lot of success in resharing the same message. So the same concept, maybe just with some different wording, the same concept, maybe with some different images. There is a lot of information in our business when it comes to promotions and specials and cutoff dates and what is happening when. So if we really want to drive a message down, I want to encourage you to stay consistent with one theme or one message for the month and see how you can break it down into multiple different versions to really keep that message strong. And then last week was everything about fierce sales. We spoke about incentives. We put together some amazing incentive ideas. We had an enormous amount of engagement amongst us as leaders, which I really, really want to congratulate and thank you, everyone. It makes such a huge difference because we can't just give everyone a hug and we can't quickly grab a cup of coffee with all of you. Just that little spark of information or that different idea for an incentive, I promise you, it drives all of our behavior. And so, for everyone who's been participating, for sharing, big or small, I need an image of this. Here comes the image. I'm thinking of this. This is a great idea. I've loved the journey we've taken each other on this month. And I want to encourage us to keep doing that as leaders, but start filtering it down to our teams as well. So, fierce sales doesn't stop. Sales is the name of the game in our business. But while we are planning today's sales, Fierce Futures, which is our section for this week, is making sure that we are growing that legacy business that we talk about. The business that gets to a certain point where we know what we're earning every single month. But more importantly, we also know how many people we are impacting and showing how they can take control of their situation as well. So this week, Fierce Futures, today I spoke about your legacy and how it is built daily. And that's all I want to say is, again, it's not about a checkbox in your business. It's not about saying, okay, did I motivate my team? Tick, did I do things with intention? And the easiest way to do things with intention is to have a plan. And so we're getting into the next month, and it is unfortunately a very busy week where we need to be focused on month end, but we also need to, excuse me, sorry, we also need to be focused on what is our new month going to look like? What incentives are we going to put in place? How are we going to create that momentum and that vision? And so what we are working on in the background is we've put together really a huge amount of training sessions over the last 3 months that have gone into legacy protection. And over the last 3, 4 weeks, we started opening up the sessions to everyone. And we have realized with a lot of feedback from everyone that there's huge amounts of value add in there. So I'm busy working on a little schedule that will take you through all the sections you may not have seen on the legacy protection group, because obviously if you weren't part of it, you wouldn't have had access to it. But I'm going to make a nice little schedule with the direct YouTube video links and say, okay, if you want to do onboarding, click on this video. If you want to do this, and I want to encourage you, there's not going to be as many training sessions in November because we're going to be purely focused on sales and communication. We definitely will have our Monday meetings. We definitely will have an open company Zoom session, but you have access to so much information, whether it's the website, whether that's little training schedule that we put out. I want you to know that whatever you're looking for, whether it's a spark of imagination or something exciting, or whether you're struggling with something, there is so much that is already available to you. So don't sit down, raise your hand, take control, and use the resources that are available. Okay, so where are we today? We are looking at a business and we are putting ourselves into a fierce mindset that we are building daily towards something bigger. And I don't know, I'm pretty sure most of you have heard the statement that it acts as if. So if you were already in the 100,000 Rand club, how would you act? if you had already made your millionaire status, how would you show up for your business? When we start thinking that way, we allow vision to come in and to create the freedom that we're looking for that bigger business. And again, I go back to that 100,000 Rand plan. By sharing it and making it bigger than what I was, I actually had to show up as if I had already achieved it. And so, whatever your next goal is, whatever your next earning bracket is, wherever you want to see yourself get to, start showing up as the person that already has it. Because when you do that, you operate on a different frequency, which means you attract differently. And that's often what we are blocking out when we're too stressed about not being where our figures need to be, not having enough recruits. We've got to show up every single day as if we already have everything that we are working towards. And so I asked a couple of questions on the WhatsApp group ahead of the session. And I want to say, Haniki, thank you. You must be tired because you were the first one to answer. So, of course, you're exhausted. But the three questions, I'm going to go through Haniki's answer. And I want to say, if anybody else has the answers, pop them in the chat box. If you'd like to tell us in person, this is the part where we're going to go through them as well. So, question number one was, what was your biggest fierce and feminine win this month? Haniki's answer was getting my consultants to interact with me more than ever before. Now, I want to bet that that came from the secret tools, the secret things we wanted, all the engagement opportunities, sharing our testimony, sharing previous events, going back to the moments where we were our most successful. Question two was, where does your business need a little fierce energy to finish October strong? She says, I'm fatigued. I don't see the results for the energy I put in. I need to help to boost myself to keep on keeping on. And I think we covered this aspect. Nicole brought this question up. I think it was in our open discussion to say, I've recruited all these people, I'm doing all these things, but they're not all jumping on board. And I want to say, be realistic about the time frame that we are in now. It is year end. Not everyone is in the position to have saved their sanity for the last couple of months, but never stop the energy and the momentum that you're putting in, because that's exactly what it is. Success isn't about the end result. It's about what you do in the time frame between working towards something and actually achieving it. We took our greatest success for granted, and I say that tongue in cheek because I think we all did it. We got to the point where sales came so easy for us that we never really planned a succession plan. We never really thought about doing anything different and anything extra. And we have to be realistic that for the time that we took off, and by took off, I mean where we didn't show up as energetic and happy because of the struggles we were facing, because of the changes we couldn't understand, that does have a lasting impression on our teams. And so the energy you created in October has got to be what you put into November. Then you will start seeing a shift. There's no magic formula. There's no magic wand. We just have to know that we've stuck to our plan. We've shown up with discipline and consistency, and that the success will come as long as we don't lose the momentum. And question number three was, if November was your breakthrough month, what would you do differently? And she says, gosh, honestly, I don't know. My brain is on standstill. I think, in your planning, I always say it's important to have a reflection period and to go back. It's not about calling yourself out or making you feel like you haven't achieved anything, but it's also about saying, okay, these certain things I did, they don't work. Take them out of my planning. Even if it is the little thing, Hanaki, like when you say getting my consultants to interact with me more than ever before, that is the start of the change and the momentum that you want to see. Now ask yourself in November, how can I take that and double it and triple it? Because that's what's going to bring the results as well. So thank you for sharing with us. And then Reneth, my biggest one is the fact that I reached 25,000 Rand earlier in October than in September. Well done. So your earning level has been secured. That's brilliant. The reason for this is that I start reaping the fruit that I planted a few months ago. There we go. For example, yesterday, a consultant placed her first order. I recruited her on the 19th of July. And that is why I've always said, even when I first started this business, is the one thing I don't enjoy is that when we need to take our foot off of the gas, our teams think that they do the same. And so those are the kind of things you've got to think about. Okay, if I am, for example, I'm moving my house this week. If I can't be available to my team as much as I needed to, how can I give them extra experience or extra connection back to the business that doesn't require me to be on the phone all the time, but can still bring them some substance? And that is where we go back to our training sessions. That's where we go back to our information pieces. That's where we get together as leaders and say something as simple as, how many bees do you see in this picture? It's about working smart and looking at our challenge and say, okay, there's multiple ways that we can rework this. What can I do to keep the energy going? This business is a business of momentum. And so anything you are doing now, do not look for the immediate results. I know we need it. Trust me, I know we are focused on our earnings, but don't lose the energy, don't lose the momentum. That is what we need to keep going. Because I promise you now, all your efforts of October and all your efforts of November are going to make you have an incredible December. December is a mindset. Yes, half of the country goes on leave and all the blah, blah, blah. You can look at it however you want, but there has been times in this business where we've had a record-breaking December. And it wasn't because everybody woke up in December and realized they didn't have gifts. It was because we had put momentum into big Octobers, big Novembers, and the last people who caught the last part of the train jumped on, and they are the ones that secured a good finish for December. So thank you for sharing that, Renette. I think there's huge value to realize that we have got a lot of work to put in before we start seeing those results that we sometimes feel came a lot easier to us in the beginning. Verosa, your big one, activating those silent SEs who have not been active. Again, I'm hoping that it's through all the engagements and the little campaigns. There we go, activating the 11 consultants who were not active at all. And your one thing you're going to change for November is recruits. Nice and simple, very effective. That's exactly what it is. If you keep the process simple, your team can jump on board and support you as well. Arminda says one thing, her big win for the month is I led with heart and strategy. From hosting our breast cancer awareness events to empowering consultants with daily motivation, I showed that feminine leadership is both soft and strong. I didn't just manage, I moved people. Old consultants took a stand to start their journey again. That's my win. And I loved that you shared that with us. And I think if you have to be honest about the amount of effort that that took, it's a lot of personal connection. It's a lot of driving some energy sometimes on the days where we are all a little bit platt and we don't have it. But it's about showing other people if we can do it with all that we have going on, they can do the same as well. Your second one was right now, it's about follow through. So payments, pink pictures, and those final 10 items, which are part of your incentives. This is where Fierce Energy must meet gentle reminders. And I think that's very important. Month end is stressful as it is for most people, just by the pure fact that debit orders don't ever stop. And so when we are following up with our people, let's remember to have that intentional grace and that gratitude for their contribution, but to follow up with our fierce and feminine stance to say, we are in business. We want to see your earn. Let me help you get this last payment through so we can get those parcels to you and to your clients. I'm focused on helping my team stay consistent, close their sales, and feel proud of their finish. And those are all things we do by the way we interact with our team. And so we're on a good trajectory. I can see the change in us as leaders. I just want everybody to be encouraged to stay the course. And then if November is your breakthrough month, I'd lean even deeper into intentional planning. I'd map out weekly goals with visual trackers, build in more celebration moments, get excited about the incentives for November, as it will help consultants at different levels to achieve. And I think there's something very powerful about that. I think it's about also when we know the people in our business, we'll know how to incentivize them, but we'll also know what goals are relative to them. And when we can speak to people that matters to their hearts and to their minds, that's where we build the momentum and the reach that we want to. So I'll tell you what I did. And I thought about sharing this, or actually, it took me a long time to actually get to post this, but I went onto my consultants, every single one individually. And I had said to them a little message with a thing that says, I am back in my business full time. So I had previously had somebody assisting me with orders and placing of orders. And of course, it's not her business. So why would she show up as consistently as I would as the leader? So I am back to placing my own orders. I haven't done this in over, I'm not even going to lie to you, in over 7 years. But it's given me much more control. And just by reaching out to my team saying, I know that you've been disappointed before. And again, this isn't anything to do with head office. This is purely just that the lady who was helping me just couldn't help at the level that I needed her for my consultants to actually feel that they were achieving. And it was so heartwarming for so many people to come back to me and say, I'm so glad you're back. I will start again. I'm so glad you're back. I will try. I'm so glad you're back. I was so frustrated, but I really, really want my business back. And so it was a hard pill for me to swallow to be able to say, I'd left this a little bit longer than I had hoped for. But at least by reaching out on those personal connections and also leveling with their frustration, I got so many people coming back to say, okay, if you're in, I'm in. And that's what legacy business is about. It's about making sure people know that if they walk the journey with you, you're going to do what you say you're going to do. And so when we look into our future business and the freedom that we're creating for tomorrow, I want you to just write three things that your business could give you long term, whether it's time freedom, financial security, personal pride. There are three things that we always want to attach ourselves to our business when we are dreaming, when we are planning, and when we are moving forward. You don't have to share them with me now, but when you get into your November planning, make sure that whatever that big end goal is, you're doing the work of today. Even if you don't get the immediate results, even if you don't see the change, just know that it will happen. That is the power of momentum. And so I want to say, everyone who has commented so far or has shared their answers, thank you, because what you have proven is that it starts with ownership and influence. When we know where we are falling short and we know how to bridge those gaps with influence, that is the only way that we are going to change people. We cannot change their mindsets. We cannot do things for them. We can just show them a different way by doing what we do. And so, in all your things that you do moving forward, own your role, influence your people, and make sure that you are mastering every aspect of your business before you expect your consultants to do. We've never been in the business of sitting back and saying, okay, consultants go and get me orders. So when we did our Fierce and Feminine consultant workshop, the whole point of that was to really get you to step back into the consultant role and say, if I'm a brand new person and I've never sold this product before, what are the immediate things I need to get my journey started? What am I expecting from my team leader? And how do I stay involved and active in the business? And if you can just get that right, plus bringing on new recruits, I promise you, you'll see a change in trajectory when it comes to your business as well. We've spoken a lot about consistency. I know you probably think it's a swear word at this point, but that's just what it is. On the days you don't feel like it, on the days you do feel like it, consistency always wins the game. We also put a huge amount of focus back onto celebrating team progress. And again, I want to say, even if you don't have anything to celebrate that is team specific, celebrate the fact that you have a group with some consultants on. They might not be active right now, they might not be placing orders right now, but celebration is what breeds influence and influence in the right direction as well. And then I want to say to you, you're building leaders in this business. And so, some consultants that are really showing up, there's nothing wrong with having those startup conversations with them to say, you really are making some incredible progress. And I've highlighted you for some of my growth platforms. I want to walk this journey with you. Don't get stuck as the administrator in your business where you just thank you for your orders on the portal, thank you for the payments, orders at the office. Get into the point where you start having different conversations with different people. I always go back to speaking to the cashiers and to speaking to the waitresses at coffee shops and positioning the business to them. That first look on their face is like, wow, why would this lady choose me? I've got a simple little job serving coffee in the morning. She's looking at me and thinking, I am worth so much more. That is the power that we have in this business, is when we start saying to people, sure, look at those orders. I'm pretty sure you could build a bigger business, and I want to show you how. Work with the ones we already have. Don't become stuck in administration, but start planting the seeds for them to start thinking about a bigger opportunity in the business as well. And so I want to say to you, you need a business buddy in your team. You need to pick someone in your team that can help you build that momentum, build that encouragement, and build that mentorship. And I want you to pick someone in your team that can also go onto the group and motivate people from a consultant level. Sometimes even when we run these sessions, I'm pretty sure you are very sick of the same old voice of Taryn, and we will change that up in the future, but that's okay. It could be the same for your team. Imagine they could relate to someone that they can see on their level. Introduce that consultant. This is Taryn. Taryn is a mom of three. She's not. I'm just letting you know nothing's changed. She works at Postnet. This is what she does. And she joined Honey because she needs to pay for her children's school fees. This November, you'll be hearing from Taryn on the things that she does. We need to start creating platforms for elevation for people that are already in our business so that our group can start building community, but they can also start taking motivation from people who are basically in the same position that they are. Introduce that person, give them, even if it's just three things for the whole month of November to go and post onto your group. I remember doing this, and I remember people building community across phones and knowing what would you do if you go to a client and she says that. When we give people more autonomy, but also the opportunity to shine, you'll be surprised that you are sitting with some really big influencers that are already in your team. They just haven't had the opportunity to share what they know and what they do. Okay, and then I want to say, Arminda, you touched on this beautifully in your answer, was talking about built-in trackers, talking about measuring our inputs. And, Haniki, when I read your message and say, I can't measure my inputs, I've put in energy, I'm tired, but I don't see any results. I think you need to go back and see what difference you've made in terms of, like Renette says, I made it to 25,000 Rand in October quicker than I did in September. That's because she measured it. Arminda wants to put in weekly incentives so that she can measure the success. And so energy is one thing, strategy is another. When we are doing strategy in our business, let's make sure we can say, okay, I launched an incentive. It was a 5-day incentive. 5 people came. Okay, now that was step 1. Week 2, I did this. 6 people came. Okay, they like this more than that. You've got to almost be, as crazy as this sounds, having conversations in your head and asking yourself, is this what I should be doing? Is this not what I should be doing? And of course, where you're stuck is raising your hands and asking for help. And so I want to ask you, when we are done with this session, is to post into the group 3 words that describe the legacy that you want to leave as a leader. Not on this Zoom. When we are done and we post the recording, I'll do the prompts again for you. But I want to know, what are the 3 words you want people to associate when it comes to you and running a business? Because there is a huge, huge link in positioning those things, and then go back to the beginning of the session, showing up and acting as if. It's the psychology behind it. It's the ability to really, really get onto understanding what your teams need and what your teams want. And again, I want to say we are so much more powerful than we remember. The best thing you can do is go back into those archives every single day and remind yourself of what you've done. Not just look at the pictures, not just celebrate what it is, but also go and ask yourself, how did I get there? What did I do? And remind yourself that you have what it takes, because you wouldn't be here if you didn't. What do I want people to remember about how I led? It's always more than money. I want people to feel a certain way. I want them to associate my name with a certain thing. And so I want to ask you today, when you're talking about your legacy of leadership and when we're looking into the next part of our future business, is asking you, what does that look like for you? Okay, so I'm going to pause there before I get into my 90-day plan and just check the chat box. For Rosa, may I ask a question? Of course you can. Do you want to come on quickly? You should be able to unmute.
Yeah, morning. Sorry, I didn't even realize I didn't have my video on.
Oh, no, that's fine. Now we can see your face.
Morning, everybody. So my question is, if I choose, am I allowed to choose one consultant that I know I can push a little more and separate my incentives? So, for example, I can have a team incentive, but privately incentivize her, knowing she can push higher.
Heck yes, that is the best option. Because if you go back to talking to people about what incentivizes them, someone that you can push for a little bit more, maybe in line to get a handbag, whereas you might do the bracelet or something smaller like the earrings for the rest of your team because you just want to get them started. Personal incentives work, and I started it
Okay.
last month as well. I called it secret incentives. And what I
Okay.
did was I went onto the group, I launched the team incentive, and then I said, for those of you who want more, I'm putting together a secret incentive. Who's in? And I did a poll. And 6 people came back on the poll and said yes. And then I went to them personally and I said, okay, what is it you want to work for? Let's do a secret incentive. Or I had something separate to the team where I put it together and said, okay, you can qualify for the team incentive, but if you do X amount more, I'll also throw in this personal incentive for you as well. So yes, you can
Okay.
incentivize every one of your consultants singularly if you had the capacity and if you had the time. But I think
Okay.
that's exactly what it is. If you know your people, you can incentivize them properly. So great
Well, it was
question.
actually what you said that put the thought in my head. And then I know when a consultant, so I started listening to them personally about what they like. And then also the other question is it a problem if we don't actually use the incentives you all have offered us, the non-com items as
Sorry,
incentives?
the line broke up there for me. I didn't hear you. Sorry.
The question is it okay if we don't use the incentives that head office has offered us at non-discountable prices?
Of course
Because
it is. So remember, that was
okay,
the guideline, especially on the costing structure, to say to you, like,
okay,
this is what you could cost it in. We also always believe that, when you get that consultant their first item, it's an opportunity for them to showcase what business they're in and to wear what
Tell
they
what
need
you
to. But
okay.
again, if you've got someone who absolutely loves a spa day and you found a great special, then use the spa day incentive.
Okay,
It
thank you
was
so
just to
much.
make sure that from a head office point of view, we've offered you something that will work within your budget and that, it can follow the process and can follow the brand as well. But go wild.
Okay,
Go
thank you.
wild. And if you need any assistance on costings or whatever, we are here. Just send it through and say, this is what I'm setting the target at. This is what it's actually costing me. And we can guide you and say, okay, maybe you need to increase the sales, or maybe you can even decrease the sales a little bit as well.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, let's go back to the chat box, which I've now lost the whole presentation. Sure, Taryn. Mondays are not. Okay, there we go. Found it. Okay, so Antoinette, sorry, I think it may have been my connection for a minute. So I know that you were losing me. She says, I've started to recruit more new blood into my business. People love our products. Of course they do. And that's just the beauty of it. I still love the question, is honey still around? Because it gives me the opportunity to say, not only are we around, but you've missed about a couple of good years where we now do wellness products, we now do shoes, we now do so much more. So again, some may see it as a challenge. I see it as an opportunity to go out and show people, especially new people in our businesses, what can be done. And then Cornay sent me hers from her side on the questions. So I'm going to take you through what Cornay said. So, what was your biggest fierce and feminine win this month? She said, drawing a clear line with staff and even some team leaders. I might have been one of those. This theme was me in so many ways, more than you would even know. Okay, cool. I love that. Where does your business need a little fierce energy to finish October strong? She says, driving till month end. We just cannot lose momentum now. We are nearly on the same target we ended on last month. And so, again, I want to say to you, we are measuring momentum. So, when Cornay's measuring success, she's also looking at points per point on the 17th of last month versus the 17th of this month. What sales are we on? Then she looks at it again and says, okay, in relation to budgets or targets, what sales are we on? And so we're measuring from all sides of the business. And I think we can see the increase in it. Don't feel dismayed if it's not completely evident right in front of you. But when Cornay does that daily breakdown and it's just required for us to do less than 2,000 Rand sales per team leader in the business, then you've got to know we are making a huge, huge dent in all the challenges that we've had before. And then she says, if November was your breakthrough month, what would you do differently? She says, I would love to be more of a voice in November. I feel I am too quiet, but I don't know how to structure it. I want Hong Kong to be something, but what? So we've got some plans. We've got some plans about what she's going to do in Hong Kong. And I think she's trying out a new hairstyle because I think she might be going the influencer route. I'm not sure, but I'm just planting seeds here. But I think that's exactly it. Know that no matter what level you are in this business, we all apply these challenging questions. We all look at insert in depth, and we all have the opportunity to just do better for ourselves. And I think that's one thing I love. Personal progress is something you just cannot measure in its entirety when you can see the change and the results coming. Okay, give me 2 seconds back into. Can you see my screen? I feel like I've lost everyone now. Okay, there we go. You should be able to see. I just want to wrap up the session and then we'll open up for any further comments or questions. Taryn, top it. Okay. Fierce growth plan, next 90 days. Now, hear me out before you look at me and say, do you realize that there are not 90 days left in this year for work? I hear that. But remember, we're building momentum. So, momentum is about looking at the now, looking at the very, very close future, and planning for the distant future. Now, I'm not saying you've got to spend the rest of the week having a full on plan for every single day. Take care of the now, but when you are planning, always ask yourself, how will I keep this going later on? What is the end result of this little challenge that I'm doing now? Planning is honestly one of the biggest aspects of our business. And for a lot of us, we've never really been taught how to plan. We sort of just start when the new month goes, we push what comes out, and that's not being fierce and feminine. We want to take charge of what we can control. We want to make sure that we are the ones leading our business and that we are proactive instead of reactive. And so while you are developing this next 90-day plan, and you know what? If you don't want to do 90 days and you just want to do it from today till close, that's also fine. But what I'm trying to show you is that there is more results attached to having a little bit of a bigger vision and a little bit of an idea on how to continue what you've started. Remember at the beginning of the session, I said, let's keep with one common theme in our teams, especially with our consultants. Let's explain the obvious. Let's not have too many different things where they can't figure out what's going on. Because from placing my orders, one thing I also know, and I've known this all along, is not only do they not read, but suddenly they can't tell when the 21st of a month is, because there it says on the image that the offer ends, but they'll still ask you to place it on the 24th. And so going back to simplicity is where your planning needs to be. And what are you going to do with this plan? So I've included these steps, and also I will put the slide up individually into the group when we're done. But define your top three business goals for the next 90 days. Again, if you've done it beautifully in the questions that I've asked for this morning. Maybe it's to just increase sales by 10%. Maybe it is to get a recruitment goal that you stick to and actually get those recruits in. Give yourself three things that you can work on. Because if you give yourself those three things, what you've basically done is you've set yourself up a little system that you can measure. So if my goal is recruitment, by the end of the month, I must say, oh, I said my goal is recruitment. What did I do to get towards recruitment? We're quite good at planning and saying, but we're not often good at either doing or going back to see what we did and if it resulted in something that we need. When you've got those three things and you've got that big goal for the 90 days, is to break them into monthly and weekly milestones. Now, Aminda, again, I can only commend you once more to say thank you for putting that into your feedback for November. You can have a plan as big as the Great Wall of China, but if you don't break it down into small chunks that your consultants can absorb, you're going to leave them more confused than you're going to leave them inspired. Identify three team members to support, or even maybe a mentor. There's nothing stopping us from reaching out. I know there's loads of side conversations that happen, and I love it. I love it when you come onto the group and you say, Roberta phoned me and she checked in on me, or Claire did this for me. And those are encouraged. Build your business with business buddies, work plans with business buddies, contact head office for support, chat to Kone, chat to me, wherever we can jump in, we will. And that's what it's about. But I think there's a huge amount of value in identifying those one team member, three team members, completely up to you. But be clear on what it is you want them to do to help you build momentum in November. And also create a really exciting platform for them. I will never forget what it felt like to start being part of the bigger picture. As a young girl, not really certain. I didn't study anything. I didn't know where I was going to go with my life. I didn't really know what this business was going to do. And every time I felt that way, someone gave me the opportunity to stand on a pedestal and even just use my voice or even just contribute an idea. We forget how impactful that is. So let's start doing that in our teams as well. Tracking your progress, we've spoken about it. With everything you do, make sure you can measure it. If it's a 5-day incentive, go back to all 5 days. What worked? What didn't work? What can you do going forward? And then get yourself an accountability partner. I'm not going to go over the 100,000 Rand plan, but I can tell you that it scared me into existence. And that was probably the best thing I could have done. And I also thought about it, if I had not made that 100,000 in that first month, it wouldn't have been the end of the world. What I would have done was I would have had the support of everybody around me to say, oh, you finished on 95,000. You were so close. Well done. We don't always have to get the exact goal. We've got to learn what we need to learn in the journey towards that goal. So find yourself an accountability partner. You're not asking someone to do the work for you. You're just asking for someone to just check in on you and see how you're doing and where your thinking is at. We are so much stronger and more powerful when we work together. And so that's what I'd like to see you take into the end of October and for the month of November as well. All right, we're reaching the end of our session. Before I hand over to Corne, we have got our final Legacy Live session taking place tomorrow night. It is called The Power of 100, and we are really focusing on how to build 100 clients for our consultants, and for us as leaders, how to build 100 consultants. And so it's a really, really fun session, lots of practical ideas, lots of consistency, lots of measurable outcomes. And so I'd love to encourage you all to attend. It is open to all team leaders, all elite entrepreneurs, and of course consultants, but it is limited to the first 100. We haven't yet broken the 100, so I'm sure we'll still have a lot of space for everybody, but please make every effort to join us tomorrow. This is really going to be the energy and the momentum that we can get our teams behind to help us build very quickly in a short space of time, but while there is still a lot of energy and fun in our business towards year end. And so we're looking ahead at November quite soon, and I want to say to you, whatever you're planning on October, make sure that it is fierce, make sure that it is feminine, make sure that you can take it into November. November will be bigger than October, without a doubt, but it is going to require a different type of energy. Black November, I'm pretty sure you have seen in some of the retail stores. Never mind Black November, Woolies has Christmas cookies out. And I am not happy about it. I'm not even gonna lie. This is why people become the Grinch at Christmas because we haven't even had Halloween yet. But that is the competition that we're up against. And so when you are chatting to people, building your business, getting your product out there, think about how you can create that experience and how you can keep your business top of mind. Remember to stay fearless. Remember to just look after yourself in this process as well. When you're doing things strategically, you will find the energy that you need. But most importantly, look after yourself as well, because without you, there is no business to run. That's all I have to share from you on my side. If there's anybody who'd like to add a comment or hasn't answered questions they would want to, you're welcome to do that now. And then I just hand you back over to Mama Bear and she can take us out of the session.
Well, thank you, Taryn. This has really been such a valuable session to really just have a recap and just to gather your thoughts. I think this is what these sessions are. They're really a gathering of thoughts. And every time I sit here, I start making notes. How do we support you in this endeavor? What can we put on the table to support this? So thank you so much for it. I think the one thing that I made a note of, if I can find the note, oh, there it is. I found the note. Was to, okay, so first of all, I believe after we have invoiced today's sales, so your sales for the weekend, I believe we would have crossed last month's final sale.
That's so exciting.
Yes. So that is very exciting because we started the month behind. We started the month way behind. So we really did a catch up. I have not been in the promotions department, but to say good morning to everybody this morning. But I do believe that sometime in this week, our sunglasses will arrive, and our whole aim is to launch the first sunglass promotion still on this side of the month. Yes, we're going to capitalize on Black November. Well, our plans are ready for that. And I think then the note that I made here is to remind you that honey is a warehouse. You come to the warehouse, you pick up what you need, and you go and make with it and do with it what suits your vision, your business. Just like Feroza now said, can I do something else? Yes, you can. Don't see this as this is what you have to do, because you'll come to the warehouse, you'll collect what you need, you go and create what you need, and you add to it whatever it is that you want, because that is your authenticity. I am really excited if I look at the amount of activity that was out on this weekend. A lot of people out there, a lot of cancer things happening. I had feedback from Stephanie. She's out on the market, happy with the amount of recruits that she picked up there. I see all the activity everywhere, and that is so valuable because I truly do believe that is where our business, I know it, that's where our business is built. So here from our side, it is all systems go. Everybody is packing an order, or I know the promotions department went material shopping. Apparently, I don't know if you saw that little video of them cutting the blue material. That was just so pretty. I didn't even know they were doing that. Okay. I knew about the making of the skirt, but I didn't know they were cutting it there back there. And it was actually such a cute video for me even to see. But apparently this morning, the skirt is too flat. So they went to get some more material because it has to look a certain way. And a lot of creativity, a lot of commitment from this side. And from our side here, it's all systems go. And we're truly excited to see where the month's going to end us.
Amazing. Thank you for the update. And then I think I can definitely say thank you for always sharing so authentically and transparently. That's something that always comes back in feedback that I speak to team leaders is, I know where I'm going now. No, they don't need to know about the nuts and the bolts. They definitely don't want to know about the spreadsheets. I can tell you that. I know what those spreadsheets look like. You can keep them. They are yours. But I think just knowing the direction we are headed in, knowing what is going on behind the scenes just always gives us that motivation and that power to step forward. So thank you for that. All right, ladies, go and have a blessed week, a safe week, a prosperous week. Let's rock the end of October. Corne, we look forward to seeing the message that says we've beat the mark and we're heading more forward. And then, let's connect again tomorrow night and look out for November planning. I've put together something quite powerful. So we're looking forward to sharing that all with you. Thank you for your time. Goodbye.